Hi, my name is Luke Short, and I'm here today with Gabriel Bartlett. Gabriel,
Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. So you're doing just a fantastic ministry over the radio, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been working on is it's a show called The Good Report.
Okay.
So this is one of the aspects of what my wife and I have been doing over the past few years. We've been doing this for about 6 months, so we're still kind of new. But do you remember the story in Numbers chapter 13? So you remember the story of the Exodus, the children of Israel in Egypt, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so they can't do anything to help themselves. They cry out. God promised that He'd deliver them.
Yeah.
He takes them out, and they put the blood of the lamb on the doorpost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So by the blood of the lamb, they were redeemed from slavery, right? Just
Right.
like we were. Okay.
Right.
So by the blood of the lamb, they came up out. They came to the sea, and they walked through the sea. And they were eating from the manna, they were drinking from the rock. They ended up coming into Mount Sinai, and they actually heard the voice of God. And they trembled. Actually, this is an interesting fact. There's no culture anywhere that ever claims to have nationally heard the voice of God. And that's the only time that's ever in recorded history.
Wow.
That a whole nation heard one God at one time.
Wow.
Yeah, so just a tidbit there. But
That's
so
astonishing, yeah.
So just a wonderful thing that God left us there in that. And so the model of the show, they come up out, they're seeing God's mighty power. They're living by faith.
Right.
And you remember they complain all the time. They're saying,
do.
okay,
They
I've
do.
got sand in my shoes. I've got where's the quail, right?
Right.
I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty again. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can look at that and we can kind of say, oh, those guys, how silly they were. But you know what?
Well, yeah.
I complain here, and I'm in the lap of luxury in America.
Absolutely.
So they tested God 10 times, it says, and they came, and He was patient with them. And they remember He took them out of Egypt not just to give them the instructions, but He took them out of Egypt to give them the land that they promised.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so you remember that there were giants in the land, right? Okay, so now picking up the story in Numbers chapter 13. They're at the edge of the land, and they sent 12 spies to go.
Joshua
and Caleb, and the other 10 that went out. Okay, and so what happened is when they went in, 10 out of 12 of the leaders of Israel brought back a report that was negative, and it turned all the people astray. And so God was very patient with them, and that at this point, this was the last straw. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, because they said, you brought us out here to die. We're not going to make this. There's giants in the land. There are fortified cities. You brought us out here so the giants will eat us. And God said, because you remember, they weren't supposed to wander for 40 years. In fact, they were supposed to just spend a couple of years and go right in.
And go right in.
Yeah, but because of that, that first generation lost their inheritance. They had to wander, and then He said, those kids that you said the giants were going to eat, they're going to get to go in, but you're not.
But you're not, exactly.
So, holding this model, and you remember Joshua and Caleb, they brought back the good report, right? They said, you know what? Regardless of how big the giants are, look what everything God's done for us.
Absolutely.
So they went in, and they took the land 40 years later, but they were trying to encourage the people, but nonetheless, the message sent them astray. And so I was looking at this, and I was reading it carefully, and I noticed that the bad report, Luke, when they gave the bad report, they really didn't say anything that was false. The way that they did is they presented the information, because there were giants in the land.
Yeah.
There were fortified cities, and the land was rugged, and it swallowed things up. And so, but the thrust that they had it with, and the way that they phrased it, was not in faith.
Right.
Okay, so let's plant that and kind of do a parallel thought. So I personally believe we're at the end of the age, whether it's 50 years or whether it's 10 years or whatever it is. The prophecies of Daniel are dramatically right before our eyes, so much that we don't even realize it, that men travel to and fro the earth and knowledge increases greatly. I mean, I came here from Kansas City, and I traveled 1,000 miles in under a day.
Yeah.
That's just unheard of. It would take months and months.
Right.
You're listening to me, if you're listening on YouTube or you're seeing this on the television, it's just amazing the amount of knowledge and the increase.
Absolutely.
So we're living in the midst of the end time prophecies, and that's just one realm of that. Okay, so if we're at the end times, the thing about what's going on with the internet especially is that the church, by and large, the body of Messiah, has been very ignorant of what the devil's been doing for a long time. So we have things like, we could say like the Illuminati and the government's going to collapse, and there's all these conspiracies, and there's all this stuff that we haven't known about. So God's raised up watchmen, and He said, okay, I'm going to expose the unfruitful works of darkness, and I'm going to tell my body about it. So there are a lot of really good watchmen out there. There are people that watch the news, right? And they're always reporting on, these are great men in the body, they're reporting on the wars and the rumors of wars and the famines.
Yeah.
Okay, and this stuff is really happening. And I know God has anointed them and put them there. Okay, so at the same time, so if we've got wars and rumors of wars, we've got famines, we've got all these things that Jesus said were going to happen. That's happening now. So this is like our giants, right? So we've got, there's giants in the land, there's fortified cities. So what we want to do is we want to say, since it's the good report, this is the end of the age, we're going to say, look, we're not going to ignore that there's giants. We're not going to ignore that World War III is going to break out soon or the economy is going to collapse or whatever, but we're not going to stand in fear.
Right.
We're going to say, you know, this is hallelujah, because this is everything Jesus said was going to happen. And he also said he would take us through it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go and kick those giants' butts, and we're going to go in the land and conquer. So with that in mind, what I do is kind of like what you're doing here. So we interview guests that are doing things all over the world. So we want to just focus on, okay, if people are focusing on what the enemy's doing, which is important because you got to know what your enemy's doing, we want to say, okay, I want to give equal time for God. So what's God doing? If this is the end of the age, how is he moving?
Yeah, and how can we present this through faith?
Right, through faith.
In Romans it says whatever is not by faith is sin.
Sin, absolutely, absolutely. So that's one thing we're doing. That's the good report. So that's every Friday night at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And you can listen to that live on messianiclambradio.com. Or if you want, you can go check out all the shows we've done, and you can go to thegoodreport.info.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. So this is based out of. You started this in Texas, but this is. Are you doing this now in Kansas City?
Yeah. We did this in Kansas City. We got an opportunity to move out with a wonderful man of God who's been integral in my life in discipling me and teaching me a lot of things. We actually worked together and we did many different things, but he lived in Lubbock, and so we got an opportunity to go out and plant a house church out there with him in Kansas City.
Wow.
And so we live in a house church house, so that's a lot of fun, and we're doing the radio show out of there. And what drew us out to Kansas City is it's a really interesting city. There are a lot of ministries that base out of there because of a group called the International House of Prayer.
Absolutely.
And so these guys, man, you know, I'm not affiliated or on staff, but I go there to the House of Prayer, and these guys have been praying day and night, 24/7 for
since 1999.
Yeah, since 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Just ridiculous. So that opens a portal to where there's all the kinds of things going on in the atmosphere there. And so there's a lot of other ministries in there. So we said, you know what, that'd be really good. We can help find guests for our show. It'll just be good for us spiritually. And so we got a chance to go out there and.
That's awesome. Are you on the Kansas City side or the Missouri side?
We're on the Missouri side.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually in Grandview, and I'm about 2 minutes from the House of Prayer. So I could walk there. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. So now that's one thing, and so that's the radio side of things. Another thing that we're working on is, which is really what I'd like to talk to you about today.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let me start by telling a story. Okay. So
go for it.
My wife and I were going out to Albuquerque, and we were going to go. We were going to go visit. It's the 50th anniversary of her grandparents, and we're going out to see the grandparents as a family reunion. Right. So we're in Kansas City, and we get together with a group of believers to pray, and they were praying for us before we left. So as they were praying, the man whose house we're at, he sees in a vision in his mind, he sees an arrowhead fall out of the sky, and on it is written the word Aztec. So I say, okay. So he tells me this, and he says, you're going to meet a man who has Aztec heritage on this trip, and you're going to lead him to the Lord. And so, you know, something like, I've always believed in the gift of prophecy. I've always believed in things like this, but it's just never something I've come in contact with on a real specific level. Some general things, but nothing that's specific.
Right.
So, you know what, I'm just amazed to tell you that's exactly what happened. So we're there, and we're in Walmart, and I'm getting some diapers for my baby. We're walking out of Walmart. We've installed, there was just a couple of divine delays, you know, and so the timing was perfect. And a man's standing there, and he comes up and he asks for some change because he's a homeless man. And so I start talking to him. We go inside, and we're visiting, and I find out he has Aztec heritage, and that his heart is just so tender. He's been addicted to drugs for a long time, but he's been clean for a while. Of course, he's a felon, so it's really hard to find a job. He's down on his luck, and he was just one of the most humble men I've ever met. And he was ready to receive the Lord.
Wow.
And so I told him, hey, you know what? Somebody prophesied that I was supposed to meet a guy with Aztec heritage, and you're that guy. God cared enough about you to tell me this 3 days ago.
Right,
And so,
right.
so we did that. We led him to the Lord, and I say that to say, at this point, God had begun to show me another level of His power. You know, we go through things in our life where sometimes we're not ready to see God as real as He is, because we have things, we have junk, we have garbage that if we were to see His power, we might handle it the wrong way. So, so as God moves you forward, and you see these things, He's going to bring you to a place where you're at a new level. You're coming at a watermark here. So as God did that, I was just, for the rest of the night, I was just blown away.
Right. Yeah. There would be spiritual high.
Yeah, the spiritual high.
Fantastic.
So the Lord began to speak to me about something, and I'll pause there and kind of dovetail and give you a little bit of the backstory. So,
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know this. Maybe you do, but New Mexico, I believe it was about 6 months ago, the state of New Mexico passed a law, and they said that it would be okay if you abort babies up until the week that they're due.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know, I know that you've got a baby on the way. I've got a baby, and you know that it's, you can feel, you can see the foot sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's no question there's a life in there that would survive. So abortion in general is never okay. I want to say that, but we're coming out, this farther, this farther, and now it's really pushing. So they actually have called Albuquerque, at least the press calls this, they say that Albuquerque is the abortion capital of the world now.
Really?
Right. So we're in Albuquerque. We knew about this, so we're there. We're visiting family, but we're trying to pay attention to the spiritual atmosphere and pray and say, okay, what's going on here, Father?
Right.
So God sent us through this thing with the Aztec man and showed a whole new level of His power that I believed in, but then I got to see with my own eyes.
Right.
And be a part of. And I felt Him that night. He was speaking to my heart, and He said, I've known for a while that there are 3,000 babies every single day that are aborted in this country. And so He was speaking to my heart, and He said, to put 3,000 in the gap. Okay, so this is the model. So what we're trying to do is to create an unbroken chain to where there is always 3,000 people every single day that are fasting and praying in an unbroken chain, kind of like a baton race. So
Wow.
3,000 will fast one day, and then they pass the baton to another set of 3,000. And so what we're asking, if you out there want to come alongside of us, what we're asking is that you would fast once a month, one day out of the month, and you'll commit to that day. And if everyone would do that, we need about 100,000 people to do that. And so if you'll get in contact with us, we'll give you the information, and we'll write you in the schedule, and there'll be other things, there'll be teachings, and there will be kind of a community we can talk and get together and pray about this. And there are so many anti-abortion ministries out there.
Yeah.
People that they work in the legal side of things, they work to petition to Congress, they actually go out and do picket signs, and all those things are really wonderful. When I was there in Albuquerque, I could see that personally, I believe it's the demonic principality of Moloch. Okay, Moloch was a god that they would take their babies and they would actually burn them in the fire, and he was actually a god of wealth. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think this is the modern day manifestation of that.
Right.
The issue is 3,000 people are dying every day, are being killed in the womb. Women are making their bodies a tomb.
Wow.
And it's giving power, a tremendous amount of spiritual power over to this thing, and it's just getting more and more powerful.
Yeah.
It keeps pushing and pushing. And so if we're going to kill a baby right up to the time it's going to come out, what's going to happen? How long is it going to be until we're just killing babies outright? So what we want to do is, yes, there's ministries that God's going to use in the physical and the natural, and so we want to be cover fire for that, because it's a spiritual problem.
Right.
There's no amount of voting that's going to drive
we
a
don't
demon out of
wrestle
the
against
country.
flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and wickedness.
Right. So we want to, and that's why I felt like God was telling me. He said, batter the brow of Moloch. And so what we're going to do is we're going to stand in the gap, and we're going to keep marching forward. And we're just going to say, first of all, God, we're fasting because we're repenting as a church. Okay, so we're going to say, we have not been the light of the world the way that we should. And I think that's the sentiment all across America. God is stirring a great revival in this country. And so we're going to say, look, we're not the ones that aborted these babies, but we're the light of the world. You said that we're the light of the world because you're the light of the world in us.
Right. And in Psalms it says, if my people
who call by name.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Yeah, if my people who are called by my name. Not if the
themselves.
Democrats.
Right, exactly.
If the homosexuals.
Yeah.
If Obama.
Yeah.
But if my people
who are called by my name
Right.
would humble themselves and pray and seek my face.
Right. So the ball's in our court.
Exactly.
That's the issue. And so when judgment begins in the house of God, we just want to say, hey, let's get ready, because I know judgment's coming to America. It might not be this year. It might not be 5 years from now.
But it is coming.
God judges nations. It is coming. And so if judgment begins in the house of God, let's get our hearts right first. Secondly, prayer moves things. Fasting moves things in the heavenly in a supernatural way. When Daniel was fasting for 21 days, he gave power so that the prince of Persia could be held at bay, so that the messenger could come and give him the message. So we move things in the spirit when we fast and we pray, and we do it with the right heart. So rather than just being individuals fasting, if we can come together and push and say, we want to be the ones that are praying and petitioning God for the ones who don't have a voice.
Right.
You know, it was about 3,000 people that died on 9/11. The whole country was brokenhearted. They came together and they were praying and they were seeking God's face, and that lasted for a time. The trouble I've been having with this is I just can't comprehend that many babies are dying a day. It's something that's swept under the rug.
Right.
And we get busy with our other things, you know, the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches, that choke the word.
Yeah.
And we get distracted as a church, as a body. So what we want to say is 3,000 in the gap, we're standing, we're fasting, we're praying, and we're going to say, A, Father, please forgive us for not being the light of the world the way we should have been. And B, please end abortion.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and from what I understand, we have there have been other ministries and whatnot that have come across and have found legal roads to take where it's not. It seemed like for a long time the idea of ending abortion was something out there, something that couldn't happen, or, you know, America's too wicked, or people are too wicked, or it's not something that's going to happen. But recently, a lot of there was a book that was written about the legal road you could take to end abortion, and it seems like something that is reachable at this point. And so I think this is more needed than ever, because you're right, the spiritual aspect of it is going to be warring harder than ever against it.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. So thinking about all these things, so I got to say this is a much larger job than I've ever undertook. So I wrestled with this idea for a long time. I didn't want it to be, I really felt like the Lord was speaking to me, but at the same time, I don't, you know, sometimes you have these good ideas that you think are, you know, I'll serve God this way and it'll be great, He'll love it. And then, you know, maybe He likes, you know, German chocolate cake, and you brought him a rhubarb pie. That was an accident. Okay, nice pie, but that's not what, so I wanted to make sure that this was a move of God and I wasn't jumping out in the flesh.
Right.
And with all that to be said, if you guys get a chance, pray for me, because I really need some help with this.
Absolutely.
Just in general. This is much bigger than my britches, and I feel like that's why God's really calling us. Calling me to do this, because I don't have the skill set. All through the scripture, you see people who don't have the skills for what they need to do, and God calls them and works in them and does something mighty in them personally to be able to accomplish His goals. And so that's about the mouthful I've got on that issue. Talking about.
We'll come back to it for a few minutes. I want to talk just for a few minutes about the camp that is coming up by our church, and it's going to be a 4-day camp in August. Here's a promotional for it.
for me. There was a point in your life where you came to this altar and you said, God, I can't do it. I myself cannot do it. I am not good enough to obtain salvation. I am not good enough to obtain grace. I am not good enough where I stand. And what did you do? You came and let Him be your supply.
I'm here to talk about Camp Elevate this year in August. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of games, a lot of social stuff, basically, but we're so excited for it. It's the camp where I got saved about 4 years ago, so it means a lot to me, and I'm really excited for all of you to come check it out.
Yeah, so if you need any more information about that camp, it's www.thewayprovo.com, and then you click on coming up events, and you go down to Camp Elevate, and you can sign up there, you can pay for it there, and it'll be really well set up. And we're really looking forward to getting kids there. It's only $65. It's a great price. And so they can learn about Jesus and learn about what He's done for their lives and learn about what He's working through. Once again, I'm here with Gabriel, and so I really want to ask you, back to the subject of abortion. What exactly do you need to happen in order to accomplish this goal? Because I do feel like it's very, very needed.
Right. Well, I'll tell you where we're at right now. This is the very beginning stages. So we started on the 4th of July, and we haven't failed to have one person fasting yet.
Wow.
So today, another person's fasting. So we're about 1/3000th of the way there. So a long way to go, but it's a good benchmark. So what we would need from you, if you're interested in fasting with us, there are 3 ways you could contact us, and that would be by my phone number, and I'll give it out to you. It's 208-419-7873, 208-419-7873. You can go look at us. I'm on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. It's 3000 in the Gap. And then you could send us an email at 3000inthegap@hotmail.com. That's spelled out 3000, the words, in the gap at hotmail.com. So if you would send us if you're interested, send us an email and send us your name, your phone number, and the day that you'll fast. So you could say something like, I'm going to fast every second Sunday. Or you could say, I'm going to fast on the 20th day of the month. But if we can just get it set in that way, as you could imagine, there's a lot of people that's got to be orchestrated and making sure everyone's on the right days. And so we're going to be contacting you if you do call us, and we're going to try to build a kind of more of a community. It's not just going to be like, okay, you fast and I never talk to you again. Lord willing, it's not going to be something like that, but somewhere we can draw together. And really, as we're fasting and praying, I want to hear from you guys. What is the Father showing you? On what's His heart on this issue that He's sharing with you. So we all have a piece, and if we put them together, then we're going to have a fuller picture. So our goal is, like I said, 3,000 people every day, so that's just about 100,000 people that we'll need to come alongside of us. So whoever you are, wherever you are, please come alongside of us. And the other thing you can do is, when you get a hold of us, we'll send you an email that if you know anybody at all that would be interested, you can talk to them about it, talk to your local church about it, send out to your email list, whatever, and anything would help at all. So
yeah. Now, if a church would like to have you come talk to them about this, are you able to do that, or are you pretty much just glued into Kansas City at this point?
No, actually, we're very loose. So coming out here, the only thing that's going to hinder us is funds. We work, so we work to support the ministry. I own my own business, so I can break away from some things. So if you guys want us to come out wherever you are, we'd love to come out. We just pray for funds. So that's we definitely didn't have the money for this trip, and then God opened the floodgates, and so we came through. So yeah, we definitely willing to travel. We would love to travel, come to see you, and yeah, that'd be about it. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. And so I would like to say you might not want to everyone do like all do the first day of the month. You might actually want to pick a day within the month. It might be harder to remember, but or if they could ask you.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you don't have something that's convenient for your schedule, just ask us and we'll show you where the little gaps are, because that works for us too. But we want to make it to where it's not inconvenient for other people as well. So we're confident that it'll all pretty much fall into place. So
awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. And as this thing grows, you'll get out more information.
Yeah, we'll get out more information. We're constructing a website right now, and there will be hopefully being some teachings and an area people can come and they can blog together and they can talk. And we're actually going to try to move to a live stream to where we have a live stream of an audio every night. You could call in and we can all pray together. So just some things on our radar. We'll see how it goes.
That would be awesome. That would be fantastic. Now, are you trying to work with IHOP International to get them on board with this, or are you?
Yeah, that's actually something we're going to do at just all the churches in the Kansas City area. I know that they're big about, they had some things about stopping abortion themselves. So I've just been developing some relationships there. I've only been there for about a month. So in the Kansas City area, I've just been getting a few inroads. And so, yeah, we're working on a proposal and see if I can talk to somebody. You don't really know who to talk to.
Right.
We're still kind of feeling out the area. We're still new to the area, so we don't come in and jump the gun on anything. So
right.
Yeah, I definitely plan on talking to them about that sometime soon. So anyhow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Well, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fantastic.
Yeah.
And just blessings on your ministry, and I hope to have you back again soon to talk about where it's going, if you've got it, or how things are going.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor, really.
Yeah. Thank you, and please come back again.